Hello, you may remember our last series of British £5 notes minted between 2002 and 2016, and there were two Elizabeths featured. The familiar one on the front of the £5 note, our Queen, and on the reverse of the £5 note was another lady called Elizabeth Fry. Now, she was there as a celebrated social reformer. Her Christian faith was expressed in bringing change to the lives of the poor and the lives of prisoners. Born Elizabeth Gurney in Norwich in 1780 to an influential Quaker family, the Gurneys were a big part of establishing Norwich as a city. They were wealthy woolen merchants and bankers, and Gurney's Bank eventually merged into Barclays Bank. One day, Elizabeth heard a sermon by the American Quaker William Savery, and his message was, take your life and do good with it. She met a man called Joseph Fry, a banker also, and a cousin of the Bristol Fry family, who were well known at the time as chocolate manufacturers and also a family of Quakers. They married in August 1800. I want to take you now to a significant place in London in the life of Elizabeth Fry. The building behind me you can see is the Old Bailey, and you'll see the Scales of Justice right there up there on the roof. And I'm standing just at the junction of Holden Viaduct and Newgate Street, with Old Bailey going behind us there. And that building, which is the criminal courts now, used to be, up until 1902, Newgate Prison. And Newgate Prison was the most notorious prison in London, and it's a very significant part in the story of Elizabeth Fry. She first visited the prison in 1813, and that began a transformation in the rights of prisoners, particularly female prisoners, and bringing in steps to reform prisoners rather than just punish prisoners. So it's a significant part of London that was influenced by Elizabeth Fry. 1813, Newgate Prison was the largest prison in London, and on Elizabeth's first visit, she was appalled by the conditions. Men, women and children were all together, kept in overcrowded and unsanitary conditions. Rougher prisoners would violate the weak. For women and children particularly, it was torment. She put herself amongst the inmates unaccompanied and treated them as equals. She was even known to walk with condemned prisoners to the gallows on their last journey. Elizabeth set about bringing change, believing that prisoners should be reformed rather than just punished. She introduced a system of classification for prisoners. She brought in clothing and introduced education, both religious and primary level. And also she introduced paid employment. In 1817, she established the Association for the Reformation of Female Prisoners in Newgate. This taught them skills such as needlework and knitting, and it would help them to offer them the chance of employment on leaving prison. In those days, for prisoners, you could get thrown in jail for being in debt or for stealing because you were starving. So many people just fell into this difficult circumstance. Elizabeth's ideas of rehabilitation were taken on by the City of London authorities, and as well as many other authorities and prisons across the world. She also visited prisons in France and in Ireland,
and there too brought about change. Elizabeth Fry in her lifetime established London night shelters for the homeless people. She also established a visiting society for the poor in Brighton. Her wealthy family connections opened doors for her. Her family had connections with royalty, not just in this country but abroad also. This brought influence, along with other prominent Quakers who campaigned for the abolition of slavery at the time. In 1840, Fry opened a training school for nurses, and her programme inspired Florence Nightingale to take a team of Fry's nurses to the Crimean War. So what can we learn from the life of Elizabeth Fry? Well, there are many lessons. Firstly, there's just two I want to bring out this morning, and firstly, mercy and forgiveness. She was known to say, "Great pity is owed by us to even the greatest transgressors." A profound statement which challenges us on the kind of people we are ourselves drawn to show mercy to and to help, and also to the people that we are willing to give forgiveness to. Secondly, she heard a sermon and acted upon it. That's a very simple message. Take your life and do good with it. How often do we hear God's word and we don't act upon it? So it challenges us. What is God speaking to you? What is he saying? What has he said to you through recent sermons or messages you've heard? Take God's word, act upon it, and take your life and do good with it. Have a fantastic day.